For many people, spike volleyball was a game that came out of nowhere, they didn't really care about, and didn't really play. But for us volleyball fans, and specifically us volleyball video game fans, see the rest of my channel for information, this was a big moment. Finally, we were getting a AAA quality, motion capture, full-on high-definition textures, art, physics, the Unreal Engine. We were getting everything we had hoped and maybe even dreamed about having in a top quality indoor volleyball game. And then, just as quickly as it came, just as exciting as it was, immediately, all our hopes were dashed as soon as we launched the game.
We'll go over there.
What the fuck was that? Some of you may be saying, hey, yes guy, why are you even bothering talking about this game? Everybody knows it's not that great and not that many people even played it. Well, I'll tell you why. We need to go through this bit by bit. If there's any hope that we will one day get a actually good, top quality, AAA indoor volleyball game, we need to go through this so that somebody in the future, looking back at this, can listen to the fans of volleyball video games, learn lessons from the past, and actually make something that's really fun to play. One thing that's really easy to do when talking about this game is talk about all the things it could have been. Oh, it could have included this, could have included that. Well, I don't really want to get into that. I'd rather just talk about what is there and how well was it executed, because really, volleyball is a complicated game to do in video game form, but there's not a ton that's actually needed to make it fun to play. So let's talk about some of the stuff that was in this game and really how well or not it was executed. All right, let's jump right into it. The most important thing and the thing you're going to be doing the most in a volleyball game is actually playing the volleyball game. And I think what started out here as a good idea was just poorly executed. The button combos you need to press, you press a single button right before the player passes, you press from an array of buttons to decide who you're going to set to, and then you hold the button to power up the attack before aiming where you want it to go. That's the basics of this game. Serving works similar to that. I think was a good idea from the start, but was just so poorly executed. The timing for the pass being right before it actually hits the player makes it very difficult and totally far off from all the other historic volleyball games in terms of timing, and always makes you second guess whenever you come back into the game after a long time away. Oh yeah, I gotta press it right before the player actually makes contact, making the perfect timing really elusive and hard to find.
Setters in the back, we got 3 swings, it's all good. You know who I'm setting.
What? Why is that happening?
Jeez, I'm pressing the goddamn button. Let's go, one side out for the win. That's bull.
The set choices is actually done fairly well. I don't really see a much better way you could have done that. An array of buttons to choose who you're gonna set. What really falls short though is when you choose who you're gonna set, you then hold the A or X button to charge the power of that attack while you aim around, which works okay, but what happens is the sets are all so high that every attack is always full power. And when you've charged up full power, there's no risk. You can't go over. It's not possible to make a mistake by charging too long. What this does is takes all the risk and all the feeling out of actually making contact with the ball in spike volleyball. If you see some other games that have done this a little bit differently, Women's Volleyball Championship, you actually hold the button until right before the player contacts it. If you hold it too long, they make an error. If you hold it too short, they don't attack as strongly, which is a much better way to deliver this type of mechanic. There's some risk there. It's similar in Volleyball Unbound. You charge it up while choosing where you want to go, and if you hold it too long, you'll make a mistake. There's already been games like this that do this mechanic well. It's crazy to me why Spike Volleyball wouldn't see these past games and try to take some of the best things about them and put it into their game. That brings me to the brutal tipping mechanic. Great, you wanted to add a tip. Not many games add that. In volleyball or beach volleyball, a short shot. Great, but here again, it's executed so poorly. where for an aggressive attack you hold to charge up power, if you do that for a tip, the tip just goes way up high into the sky and makes it become really easy. You gotta just tap it to tip it super low. Tap, tip, tip, tap, tip, tip, whatever. And don't even get me started on the blocking and defense. They are the most counterintuitive things you could possibly think of. Look at a game like Women's Volleyball Championship. If you haven't seen that, I'll explain. To stack up your block, you control the middle blocker and can go and touch one of the other blockers to stack up your block. If you don't, they'll act on their own. They'll jump at the right time and try to block. So you are in control of who goes where and the timing. In Spike Volleyball, you tap the triggers to send an unknown blocker, whether it's the middle or the other player on the other side, to that side, which just doesn't make any sense. You have to, triple everything or only have a single? You can't react with enough time? You've got to do it before they make their set choice? It does not feel good and makes it very difficult to set up a double block in one place and a single block in another, or even get your triple block set up on one side and then move it to the other. On a high ball situation, you got to pick one or the other or they're late. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, a mechanic that's been done much better in a past volleyball game. Did they not do any research?
Get outside, boys! Go! Look at these idiots! What are they doing? What a bunch of idiot blockers. Well done, guys. Thanks for your help.
So up until this point, I've been ignoring something pretty big, pretty important, and that is the bugs in the game. I didn't want to talk about it because it's a major point, and bugs sometimes make it into games and are sometimes forgivable, sometimes not. But in this case, they were so overwhelming at launch. For the first month that the game came out, the game was barely playable in terms of the physics and what actually happened with the ball when it bounced off the players, making for so many exploits in the game and a ton of times where these basic mechanics I just talked about don't even work.
Yes! No touch. What? Yeah, float serve down the line. Take that. What? Is it just random? What are these blockers doing? I don't get this. What are they doing? They're inside each other. Like, don't show me that replay. Like, are you guys seeing that? The ball's up and it's just like in the ground on their side. Why? We'll never know. I don't know what it is, but I love the successful block.
Again, this probably started out as a great idea. Hey, let's be the first to introduce a true physics-style ball mechanic into a volleyball game. It'll be great. We'll get net flippers, we'll get the ball to bounce off players and go somewhere random. It'll be good. And I think that is a good idea. It's an ambitious idea, but makes it so difficult to crack down on these bugs. Volleyball is so complicated. There are so many possible outcomes. Tools, net flippers, off the block and then play again. Shanks, where does the shank go? Into the net, under the net, over the net, off the antenna, outside the antenna. The ball can go in so many different locations, and with this physics engine, they just forgot and completely missed some of them. While I was impressed that when the ball goes outside the antenna, it's the other team's point. That's it. That's illegal. You can't do that. Yet, for the first month in the game, when the ball hung on the net and went down on one side, often it was the other team's point. What? How does that make any sense? How do you miss that? I don't even know how that bug is even possible. And I'm a development tester.
Oh, at least it went over that time. Oh, I'm on your shit. Lock out? What? I blocked him. What the f?
And the blocking. It doesn't even pass the eye test. Just look at it. Does that look like a volleyball block to you? Does that look like what they do? Does it look like how high they get? Does that look like how far off the net they are? Does that look like what they do with their arms? And when the ball goes off the block, does that really look like what happens all the time in a regular volleyball game? Goes off their pits and all over the place? I mean, sometimes, but not once does it ever go off the hands and straight down where you want it, or off the top and the player makes a dig again. They missed so many opportunities on this to add things for sure, but what they did add just makes no sense. Why have it at all? You know, when you're playing a game and you see a bug happen and you can kind of imagine what's going on there. Oh, something clipped through something, or, you know, this piece of code didn't execute properly, or the timing, or whatever. Spike Volleyball has some really strong bugs that I have no idea how they're even possible. Times when the setter sets it up through the Jumbotron and the rafters. Why does that happen? I mean, what, you add too much force to the ball, but yet the player still hits it? The ghost hit when one character's in one place and the ball is contacted in another? How does that make any sense? That bug is still around. And they used motion capture for this game. They actually invested money into motion capture, where guys are in the suits, they're doing this properly, and yet the ball doesn't make contact with the proper points on the player's body. Okay, I gotta relax. I know I've come off as complaining a lot, but I gotta stay focused because there's a lot more to get through in this game. Alright, so there are some positives to the gameplay as well. It does feel cool the first time you actually bounce a ball right into the middle of the court, straight down by the block, and celebrate huge. I did that a number of times, and it can be very fun. Set the big unit. Hit it really sharp, big unit. Alright, big unit. Hit it, just crush it sharp. Holy shit! Yeah! It can also be fun to manage to get your block together and stack up a triple and land a successful block. When the physics actually work in your favor, it does feel great. You worked hard, you got the guys over there, you got the block in place, they hit it right at you and you got the block. Great, that's what it should feel like. What unfortunately doesn't work all the time, but when it does, it seems like there was maybe something there. These positives are quickly eroded when you realize that the game functions in the same way every single time. The opponent's blockers, when you're playing the computer, the opponent's blockers won't actually often stack up and jump and try to block you. So you can every single time swing straight down into the middle of the court and bounce it 100% of the time. Watch my gameplays if you haven't already, and if you have seen them, you know what I'm talking about. In a volleyball game, to not have the enemy, the opponent, put up any sort of defense in specific actions like that, and ones that players are going to do. If you're a volleyball player, come on, what's the first thing you want to do in a volleyball game? You want to rip an ace, you want to bounce it straight down, and you want to get a huge block. That's what volleyball players love to do. And those actions, all three of them are completely broken. Maybe I should get ready to, okay, bounce this really sharp. Whoa! Oh my gosh, that might be the biggest bounce ever. That is well inside the attack line. Whoa, nice. You can rip aces on command if you set up the proper lineup, if you put it in the right spot. And you can get net flipper aces on command if you do the same thing in a proper setup, which takes away all the excitement, all the energy out of actually getting an ace when it happens, because you can just do it on command. You can get it any time. I think there was one game where I ripped 9 aces in a row. Was it fun the first time? Maybe, but 8, 9 aces in a row, is it still fun? No, I feel bad, I feel stupid, I feel cheated. Seeker in the corner, that's a good one. Yes! Every time on that. Perfect Seeker. That one was not so perfect. Still works! Yes, guy! The same thing applies to the attacks. If you attack straight down every time, you will score. The enemy will not block you. I found myself looking for different ways to score just to keep things interesting. Oh, can I hit it deep and score? Oh, actually, if I hit it in this spot every time, yeah, it'll score every time. Oh, what if I hit it really sharp? Can I score? Yeah, looks like you can do that too. Oh, what if you tip it? Oh, yeah, you can pretty much score at will on tips if you do it in this specific way every time. Great. So it was fun finding those, but now I go, well, now I've found every way to score in the game. How am I ever going to lose? That brings me to difficulty. On the hardest mode, the hardest difficulty mode. Watch my last episode for Spike Volleyball. I played the game. I did not attack aggressively. I tipped it as easy as possible in every time, and I was able to win a game on the hardest difficulty mode without any successful blocks, without any kills. Only on their service errors, their hitting errors. That to me is unbelievable. That to me is a clear sign of a fail of whatever you were trying to do with the game. If the player can win not playing the game.
I am not blocking them. I'm not doing aggressive tips. This is the weirdest thing ever. Okay? This is going to be promising. Come on! Yes! Yes! Come on!
Alright, so that was a lot about gameplay. A lot of bugs, a lot of problems. There it is. That's my feeling. But there's a lot more to this game we got to cover. The UI is laid out fairly well. The options are pretty clear, the menus are crisp, and the music is pleasant enough to listen to. But the different game modes leave a lot to be desired. I mean, the friendly mode works as it should. You can play a game against the computer or against a friend. That works, and you can do that locally, no problem. The challenge mode as well. I mean, it's just more of the same, but you have this kind of added challenge that sometimes super easy, like get 5 aces, again, we can get them on command, or super hard, get 5 successful blocks, which is not guaranteed at all because the blocking is completely broken. Probably the most interesting and the longest lasting mode is the kind of career mode, where you serve as sort of a manager of an international team, where you control that team and you can sub in and out players, you can recruit new players and add them to your team, and change your lineup with the recruits that you get. You get these recruiters as well, the scouts that you can send out to find new players from different events around the world, and it seems to work fairly well on the surface for the first few iterations you go through. The longer you go though, the problems really start to come forward. First of all, I don't know how it makes any sense that if you're the manager of a national team, you would send out people to go scouting at some international event. What are you watching? Like, are you watching your own national team players? Wouldn't you see them? It's more like you're managing a pro team, which makes sense, but I guess they didn't want to add pro teams. They wanted to be international. I don't know, best to overlook that one. I've said this a number of times in my playthroughs as well, is that the opportunities to scout new players don't come frequent enough. You don't have to make any really challenging decisions with where you send your scouts. After a few games, you have a huge list of scouts that you can choose from, and it's often 1 or 2 star events that come up. So pretty soon you'll have a decent team, but the 3-star opportunities really come up a random amount of time, and only you'll get 1 or 2 new ones after a game, sometimes 0, which means there's sometimes you come back from a game and there's no new opportunity to scout players. So there's just so few opportunities to actually interact with that system. Basically, like 1% of my playtime was spent organizing my team because there was no options. The career game mode overall seems to work and doesn't seem completely broken. It seems to do what it sets out to do. Just the design could have been tweaked so slightly to make this so much more rewarding. Just up the frequency of how many recruitment events show up. Make it so that you can have more active at once, so that the player actually has to make tough decisions with their scouts about where they want to send their scouts to go look. Maybe there's 2 3-star opportunities that come up. One's for a left side and one's for a setter. Which do you choose? Do you want to go after the setter? Do you want to go after the left side? Maybe you got to choose. Maybe they go and you actually don't get that great a player in return, making it so that you maybe got to make a different choice next time. That would be super rewarding, giving the player actually something to think about, make a decision, and get some feedback, whether they succeeded or failed. That's a game loop. The final thing I'll say about this mode, and maybe it's just a pet peeve, but the fact that you can't change your players' positions is so silly to me. Players have stats for every category. All of them. Setters have stats for attacking, for digging, for serving, for everything. So why would I not be able to change my players' positions? Why could I not put a right side player in at the left side? Why could I not put a middle player in at the right, or vice versa? Or put a full team of liberos in and have the shortest team of all time? You can already change players in and out, swap them in and out, so why wouldn't you just open it up so I could swap every position? What were you scared about, Spike Volleyball? That would have given me at least the opportunity to challenge myself or make the biggest team I can. Maybe I got a team of 6 middles and test that out, see how it works. Maybe a team of 6 liberos. That would be freaking hilarious to actually try out and see happen in a volleyball game. But no, I can't do that for some silly reason. All right, so the final mode we'll talk about is the multiplayer game modes. The online ranked, the online friendly, all of that, and I'm already sighing because I haven't really been able to engage with that game mode that much. The only times I've tried to play multiplayer, I've sat there for 30 to 45 minutes waiting for a match to trigger. And when I do, it's completely laggy and doesn't work. So I can't really accurately tell you how well this system works because it doesn't work well enough for me to even engage with it long enough to have an opinion. I would have loved to really get good at this game and play online and try to get good and be involved in the meta of the game and build my team up and compete against players online and become ranked and really engage with that. That would have been fun. Could have played against you guys, the viewers of the channel, and do all those things together. That would have been amazing. But with waiting that long to get into a match, I don't have that much time to play the game. I only got, 30-minute chunk? Well, it's gonna take you that to wait to get into a game. Okay, well that sucks. Maybe, and then the times I do have time to get in the game, I get in there and it's just a buggy mess. It's super laggy. The timing, if I'm the host, if they're the host, it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for them, we're super delayed. And then again, with all of the exploits you have in the game, it becomes who can be the best at getting the net flipper ace exploit the most? Who can actually pound one reliably every time? Who can get a single successful block to win the game? I played a game that was a third set thriller, but it was basically us net flippers back and forth the entire game, which just defeats the whole purpose of engaging in a multiplayer video game.
You've got to be kidding me. These are some of the worst bugs I've ever seen in my life.
When talking about the game's presentation and how it looks, I gotta say it looks half decent. I can't really be too critical here. I mean, it looks pretty good. The animations from the motion capture, when they work, look great. I mean, it looks like these players are actually doing the actions that you would see in a professional game, which I gotta say is a first for volleyball video games. Many of the animations you see in a lot of different games are super janky and super weird and don't really work properly and really give you that feeling like it's a actual professional volleyball player. This definitely does do that. The problem is it doesn't work all the time, but that part of the game seems to have been done well. The venues are beautiful. I do like the look of the venues. I've used those as backgrounds for many of my videos because they do look great. The crowds, I mean, when you look really closely, they're obviously not that high resolution, but the courts and the nets and the ref and the character models and all those things actually look really good. And I think if the game was a lot better, I'd be a lot more excited about how good it looks. But because the game doesn't actually play that well, I'm less excited. One thing that I am super disappointed about though is the voice acting in the game. I mean, when you're playing a volleyball game, it helps so much to have a commentator there building the excitement of the big plays, really engaging and bringing some energy, bringing something, some life to what you're doing to really enhance the experience. If you think about a game like Outlaw Volleyball, where you've got Steve Carell cracking jokes in the background as you're playing the game, that's amazing and it fits really well with the tone of the game. Here in Spike Volleyball, they were going for a super professional, realistic with the motion capture, trying to make it seem like a AAA volleyball game, which is great. So bring in an announcer, bring in a commentator, bring in somebody who's actually going to say stuff properly. Like, I'm sure if you're worried about budget, Spike Volleyball, you could find a lot of people out there who could do it for absolutely free, who would be very happy to engage in a volleyball game, doing commentary, whatever. So you could throw it in there. I'd be happy to. I'd record it myself. This is my pitch. Anybody making a volleyball game out there, call me. I will do it for free. We need to have good voice acting, need to have good announcers in our volleyball games. Come on! So overall, when we look at Spike Volleyball, I think there's two major points that really come to mind. One, this game is a game that has so much missed opportunity. So many things they could have done. So many different design decisions they could have made. so many different artistic decisions, so much more polish that could have been done to make this something that the community around volleyball video games really could have welcomed and hyped up and actually made the company money so we could see more. And two is that the execution of what they did choose to do was so dreadfully bad, with all the bugs, all the things that went wrong with the game, even after the patch that they put in didn't fix nearly enough of the problems in the game to make it worth buying, loving, appreciating for anybody, even the hardcore fans. So for that reason, I've got to give Spike Volleyball a 2 out of 10. A really, really bad game. It kind of pains me to give such a terrible rating to a game that really is the only professional game company who's coming out with a volleyball game in recent memory. There's a few others, but this was one that really was ambitious to try to tackle this beast that is the volleyball video game and really make it something that people would buy. But I have to stand firm and say, hey, we deserve better than this. There is a community behind these volleyball games who will pay for better than this, who will appreciate it, play it for a long time. We'll see people streaming on Twitch. You'll see people on YouTube playing the game, hyping it up, getting money, engaging. All those things are possible for this community. I've seen it. The videos for Spike Volleyball have hundreds of thousands of views. People are keen and will engage in a high quality volleyball video game. The problem is we haven't really seen one. So for any future game developers out there thinking about tackling a volleyball video game and doing some research on reviews of old volleyball video games, and you stumbled across this channel, give me a call. I would love to engage in a volleyball video game discussion. Be a part of it. Engage the community. Let's make something really special that people can get excited about. Think about 2K. Think about FIFA. Think about the NHL games, the Madden games. Yes, those communities have their problems and get upset at time to time, but they have games that people love playing year after year after year. So much money, so much enjoyment. And what does volleyball have? Not much. So please engage, reach out, touch base, do some research. There is a beast here that is just waiting to be awoken, and I'd love to be a part of it. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this review. My voice is getting hoarse. I'm getting emotional. If you stuck all the way through the video, thank you so much. Thanks for all the support on this channel. Hopefully we'll see some better volleyball video games in the future. I have a feeling we will. I'm remaining hopeful. So again, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming.